All right, today we are diving into a huge topic, something that's at the very core of our economy, financial institutions. We're going to try and make sense of them, but well, our source material has thrown us a bit of a curveball right from the start.
Right, so this is it. This is our source document. This is supposed to be our guide to understanding the whole thing. But as you can see, it looks like someone tried to keep a secret. A very, very big one.
I mean, seriously, what are we even supposed to do with this? This feels less like an explainer and more like a puzzle where someone's stolen all the important pieces. How are we supposed to learn anything from a wall of black ink? Every single line, every key phrase, every little bit of data, it's just gone, completely blacked out. The one document that's supposed to give us some clarity is, ironically, the perfect picture of confusion. It tells us, and I mean this literally, nothing.
Or does it? Maybe we're looking at this all wrong. What if the point isn't what's under the black lines? What if the black lines are the point? Is there some clue we've just completely missed? Something hiding right in front of us?
Okay, let's just stop for a second. Let's stop trying to look inside this document and just look at it. There is one tiny piece of information that's perfectly clear, and it might just be the key we need to unlock this whole thing.
And boom, there it is, the file name, Financial Institutions. It's the only lead we have, but you know what? It's a really good one. It gives us our topic, it gives us a place to start. So that leads to the big question. What in the world is a financial institution anyway?
Now we are getting somewhere. To put it simply, a financial institution is just a company that's in the business of money. They're the ones handling everything from keeping your savings safe and giving out loans to managing investments and swapping currencies.
And you know these guys. We're talking about your local bank or that credit union down the street. They handle your deposits and loans. Then you've got insurance companies who protect your stuff by managing risk, and investment firms that are all about helping you grow your wealth. They're all pieces of this giant financial puzzle. Okay, that all sounds pretty straightforward, doesn't it? Which, of course, brings us right back to our original mystery. If the basic idea is this simple, why does our source document look like it's guarding top-secret government info? What is going on with all that black ink?
Because here's the real story, and it's a good one. Those redactions, they aren't just missing information. In a way, the redactions are the information. They are the perfect metaphor for that intimidating, massive wall of complexity that surrounds the entire world of finance.
And what's so wild about this is how these terms actually work in the real world. For most people, words like derivatives, these are just financial contracts whose value comes from something else. Or securitization, which is just bundling up assets to sell to investors. I mean, they might as well be redacted, right? They're technical, they're confusing, and they create this barrier that keeps most of us out. And this is the fundamental problem. We walk into our financial lives hoping for some clarity, maybe a little transparency, but what we usually get is a world jam-packed with jargon and complexity that feels, well, like it's been redacted. So let's get into why this is such a big deal. This huge gap between what we want to know and what we're actually told. It isn't just frustrating. It has real-world consequences for all of us. This quote just cuts right to the heart of it. When the language is so complex that a normal person can't understand it, it completely shifts the power dynamic. It kind of forces you to just trust the expert because you don't really have the tools to ask the hard questions. And this chart shows that power dynamic perfectly. It's a classic case of what's called information asymmetry. Look at that difference. Financial institutions have this massive mountain of specialized knowledge, while the general public, we often get just a tiny little sliver of it. And this is where it really hits home. That gap in information translates directly into a gap in power. It affects everything, the kinds of financial products we get offered, the interest rates we have to pay, and even the economic risks that all of us end up sharing. But, being faced with this wall of complexity doesn't mean we're totally helpless. The path forward doesn't actually start with knowing all the answers. It starts with something much, much simpler. So the question is, where do we go from here? How do we even start to chip away at that wall of black ink and begin to make sense of a world that honestly seems designed to confuse us? And here it is. This is the single most important thing we can take away from our weird, redacted document. The path to really understanding your finances, to feeling empowered, it doesn't start with knowing what securitization means. It starts with having the confidence to just ask, what does that mean? Or can you explain that more simply? That question,
That simple question is the key that unlocks all the black boxes and starts turning those reductions back into understanding.